Welcome back, everyone. This is Shadow Drake, and here in part 8 for Vulcan, I've done a lot of changes. Uh, doesn't seem like much has changed over here, but I did add a little bit of extra space so that I have more ferns to turn all of this CO2 into oxygen. And I did have an extra row of hydroponics, thinking that I would get a seed trader. As you can see, I did not. Let's see. Back to that. You can tell that I vastly improved my dish setup. I got my full 9x9 grid, my large dish, some windmills, stuff. Traders are both a pain in the butt and a good thing. As you can see, I have literally 2 ore traders and a food trader. My luck has not been great. I was thinking that having access to all 3 trader types would help the RNG for collecting gases or seeds or selling, but nope. I have mined and smelted close to 1,000 grams of steel and silicone, and I still have not gotten a seed trader. I have been living off of literally baked potatoes and water, but I would like to have something else. And although the food trader allowed me to buy eggs, yeah, I can't do anything with them. So, I did finally pressurize this pipe system. Last time it was like 300 kilopascals with the medium radiator. I got it to 8 megs. And one of the major reasons for this is because at the end of the last video, I was creeping up to roughly, what, 26, 28 Celsius in the base? If there is not a lot of gases in the that radiator, it's just not going to move heat well. And thankfully, I'm still moving heat, and I've been seeing that get hot. I've seen it over 100 before. I did also add some large station batteries that needed to charge. 2 of them are enough for the dish array, and the other 2 are going to go to my atmospheric center. Because large dishes eat a lot of power. And as you can see, I've piped up 2 large to my greenhouse. And there is a wire that leaves outside. So, like I said, did some minor upgrades, did quite a bit of things, including the large dish array. But, oh yeah, the way this works, I have a large dish that does all my calling down, and a medium dish, which I kind of use to help pinpoint stuff. So my medium array, whenever I move it, that IC10 logic in the ground tells the large dish to move to that spot. And so if I can get pretty close in the medium dish, I just gotta wait for the large dish to settle down so then I can call somebody down. And as you can see, void vein vendors, still ore trader. And here is orbiting organics, which I thought was a seed trader. So I called them all giddy. And you get to see these little windows that I use purposefully to watch from the safety of the inside, watch the little trader planes come in. Although that landing pad is a little bit weird. I had the 9x9 trader come in, land correctly, get all the way up to where the landing pad starts, turn around, go straight down the threshold, and then turn around and come back and land. It was hilarious.
Oxygen low.
I was confused watching him. Like I wonder if he was landing saying, "Nope, this is the wrong Vulcan trader guy. I want the other guy." Oh wait, no wait, this is right. And so here I noticed this is not a seed trader, but I got potatoes I can sell you, so I'm gonna sell you some potatoes. If you haven't caught on, I am literally re-recording the audio based on what I am doing. Because this was a 2-hour session to work on the atmospherics, as you will see. I got very heavily distracted, and at the end of it, after I finished recording, gotten a lot of work done, I noticed something important. My mic was muted the whole flippin' time. And I did not want to redo that, because the RNG for this, and just the sheer amount of work that I did, or got distracted from doing, no. Just, no. Get $24 space bucks out of potatoes. So which leads to this. Right here is where I am going to build the atmospheric center. I gave it some thought and decided that here will be the best place, because I wanted to have the ability for the trader, the gas trader specifically, for me to buy gases or liquids and just pump them into the tank. And so I wanted to have the tanks close to the landing pad. And that would come with its own issues, because I was going to use the large tanks. And those are big. Excuse me. And so I decided that I'm going to have a like a two-story house approach to my atmospherics. The bottom area that I am making some space for will be where my tanks, my filtration, and mixers and all of that stuff is going to go. And that second floor, right next to the greenhouse, is where I'm going to put all of my various phase change device, heating and cooling setups. That's the big plan, at least. But there's one thing that I was kind of a little miffed about. I've made so many tanks, I spent so much steel, so much silicon to get myself prepared for all of this, and I was hoping that at least once I would get a build incorporated trader to help with the material management side of things. Or, you know, so that I don't have to print out a bunch of steel sheets and steel frames and stuff. I didn't get one. My luck has been crap. I have been getting the worst 3x3 traders that honestly by the time I finish printing out a good chunk of my tanks, I just decided to upgrade my landing pad. Which again was another distraction, because I finished the landing pad hoping for something better, and all I got was food traders and ore traders. Joy. The trader RNG is very picky. As you can see, I built a lot of tanks and a lot of pipes, because I am going to need... the sad thing is I'm going to need more. And so here we have... Take bets. How many times am I going to remove this tank? Second bet. How many times am I going to fall through a crevice? I don't even know the answer to that. I may have... I think I wisened up at some point, but... One of the interesting things is, I thought about having those tanks upright, but then I realized I could just have them upside down. Because upright, it was going to clip into my buildings, clip up high, make it hard to place anything. But I really wanted the storage space. And then it finally hit me. I can just build these stupid things upside down. Excuse me. And this is what I'm talking about. I'll have the tanks relatively close to the landing pad so that I can build landing pad atmospherics to pump gases out to them. And honestly, I feel like that is probably the best solution for my nuance. But yeah, so one of the reasons I did build those large station batteries is because atmospherics takes a lot of power. Especially my Vulcan setups, they take a lot of power. But I am now dependent on coal again. And they're also inside because last time I built them outside, those large station batteries caught fire. I don't know how. I don't know what I did, if I did something wrong. They just caught fire and burned to death. That was like my very first playthrough of Vulcan. I wasn't even doing anything odd like terraforming mod or anything. They just caught fire midday. So I guess they produced enough heat to set themselves on fire with the volatiles in the air. As you can tell, I moved my tanks around because I wanted to have access to that data connection. Because that can be useful. That it can save on pipe analyzers to just read the tank directly. It's not super accurate, but it kind of helps. And so here, that's gonna be the foundation for my thermal tanks. Like I do plan to expand the greenhouse, but I am not planning on expanding it in this direction. You know, it's just gonna be sideways. And I am going to go inside and outside the base a lot because I have to print out a lot of steel frames, a lot of steel sheets, just so that I can lay a foundation, so that I can actually walk somewhere. And it just got really aggravating to fall through the holes. Like, just very aggravated. And you can tell my little station battery is very low on power. That is because those large batteries suck up a lot of the extra renewable energy. So I'm no longer doing good. To make matters worse, anytime I call down a trader and use the large dish, I also burn through a crap ton of energy, making everything worse. So, yeah. To sum up, that one little pipe, that one little cable right here is connected to my two large batteries that I have designated for atmospherics. And so I am going to use that heavy cable to go and power all my atmospherics. Now, you're going to see a lot of jump cuts. Yeah. I will have very little inside stuff to show, but oh yeah, other things. I almost forgot about this. I did build a tracking beacon assembly. And as you can see, I got it on the chip so that when I am on my advanced iPad and turn it on, and on the correct cartridge, it'll turn on. Oh, and as you saw, I actually fully went and made that automatic. I enjoyed the pneumatic drill. It's been a pretty cool upgrade. I've enjoyed it greatly. Mine's pretty much as fast as a heavy drill. I'm using air, which, let's just be honest, is almost free in any planet. And so I finally decided I'm just going to go on ahead and foolproof that system so I don't explode myself. And so I had to level out this ground because you always gotta manipulate the terrain somehow. And since I'm using large tanks, I felt like I would need a lot of space. Like, even after laying all that foundation, I still feel like I'm not gonna have enough space. because let's see, we need CO2 tanks, which I'm gonna have 2 thermal tanks of CO2. Then we have what? Nitrogen, not carbon dioxide. I already said that. Oxygen, volatiles. Those are at least the ones that would stay as gases easily. Because pollutants, I don't really care about too much, honestly. But nitrous oxide, I care about a lot. Because I am going to film a lot of my phase change devices. Phase change devices with that. And so I actually did need something that works. Oh, and this is my CO2 pump system that just refilled it. But yeah, I made this smart. Just insert a tank, it'll fill it up, and it'll regulate it. I got a back pressure valve that turns on if the pressure gets too high in there. No kabooms. Of course, the only time that'll kaboom is if I let power drop. And you can hear it clicking. But yeah, that regulates everything. The constant on and off is funny to me. I don't know how I've always managed to get my logic in such a weird state that something chitter-chatters like that, but oh well. Alright, as you can see, I had built a lot of frames. And that jump cut, you probably saw a whole stack of them ready to fall out at me. Again, I really, really wish I got Build Incorporated because the mining and the printing stuff is kind of very dull and generic. It's something we always have to do, and it is just something that we cannot just bypass at all. So, I think I remember playing when I first discovered the idea of traders. I wanted to deal with that. And so I built a little test trader. Started to see what they had. Now this was before we got the extra traders, like the food trader and the convenience appliance store traders, but I kind of found it a little neat. Just to potentially get somebody that could sell you stuff. I thought it was kind of a neat system. And you can be assured that once I called out Build Incorporated, seeing that they will buy your alloys, and that you can in turn purchase basic building supplies like steel frames, walls, and stuff, I was pretty much sold on that. Like, I would rather mine and smelt the alloys, sell them to a person, and have excess cash to spend on literally anything else that I would want. I just found that part kind of enjoyable. The only thing I didn't find enjoyable was the RNG can be bad. So now I debated having just APCs come out from that heavy cable. And I didn't really want to fool with that too much, so I wanted to have one final just finally wanted to have a station battery to kind of be the final defense, just in case. Like hopefully I would notice the fact that my large batteries are drained and go and get stuff, and be assured that I still have a station battery's worth of power left. That was the goal for this. APCs are cool, but I haven't really done a lot of mining and stuff to just build a bunch of nuclear batteries. And also, for some reason, station batteries don't catch fire outside. Like, I would have put a large battery right there, but, yep, fell through the hole. If you saw me miss that frame and fall through the hole, yep. Oh, the frustrations. I still don't get why large batteries caught fire outside of Vulcan. I must have been doing something wrong. Oh yeah, and the sensor lenses have helped greatly. And the only reason I popped that on is I saw silicon in the background, and I thought that was the Vulcan glitching up and spawning water. Silicon always trips me up. But yeah, finally built something to stand on. Minimize how many times I fall through the floor. Doesn't make it 100% proof, but yeah, this basically gets the basics of the floor. Like I said, the greenhouse, I will expand in that direction, towards that one horizon. And so that should leave this entire down here for the temperature control, the 2 thermal tanks I will have, the hot CO2, and then I'm going to get more CO2 and put colder CO2 in there. Or, move all the heat around. But the goal here, without a doubt, was to actually start collecting these gases. And since I said that the original recording was roughly 2 hours long, I got very distracted. Absolutely distracted. So let's see. After the oxygen tank, I was going to do volatiles. The reason for that is... still fell through. My reasoning for volatiles next to oxygen is so that I can have an easier way to make a fuel mix. Because obviously, volatiles, oxygen, fuel mix. The water tank next to the oxygen also is kind of a thing. Like, I had a plan that I could then, use the H2 combustor to make water. And then just do something to dump it off in there. I'm still working on that idea. So that's my volatile tank. And next to the volatile tank is going to be my nitrous tank. The reason for that, again, nitrous plus volatiles can make or what I always call a high density fuel mix. And that mouse waving was me raging about the fact that I can't see how close it was to the volatile tank. So, nitrous and volatiles will make a high fuel mix, which I will use for my combustion centrifuges. And then my regular fuel mix is going to be for a gas fuel generator, if I choose to go that route this time. Or making water. And like I said, right above this will be... well, this floor is going to be all my gas storage. And right above that will be phase change devices. And I think I was going... yeah, this is a better show. The top of the tank will clip through.
Hunger caution.
It might mess up placements of phase change cooling devices and loops. So yeah, upside down. That'll work. So this will be my big CO2 tank, the thermal tank. Where ideally I have CO2 at less than 150 Celsius in there. And it needs to be cooled. The reason I chose CO2 is because it has a high specific heat. And so it should hold, well, for lack of a better term, it should hold more thermal energy and be more resistant to the changes. And the plan is to have 2 CO2 tanks that I need to fill. The hotter one will be the overall strength of the system, I suppose, where everything gets, all the heat gets dumped into, which has to be cooled. And then I think I was the plan was to cool another CO2 tank to roughly 20, and then attach every one of them with large direct heat exchangers. I feel like that would be a little bit more power savings, because while I wouldn't mind having just a large thermal tank and attaching every single tank to it in some way, I'm looking at realistically that's 100 watts per tank. But if I cool a massive tank of CO2 down to 20 and connect everything else to it, that should, theoretically be better. Because even if I use 3 or so phase change loops to move a lot of thermal energy, steel sheets. Even if I were to build a lot of, maybe 3 or 4 sets of phase change devices, that should still cool it down at a reasonable amount of time, and I'll have CO2 that is cool, which I can then use to pump into my base so that my plants can turn it to oxygen. So it mix it with the overabundant volatiles in Vulcan to make water. That should put me net positive. I think now I'm going to start to lay the foundation for the whole thing. This is, what, a third of the video in? I got distracted a lot. I think I was sizing up the overall space, and kind of to illustrate why I built so many flipping pipes. That's because I'm going to be moving a lot of stuff around. So the gist of this is collect night air, filter out my volatiles because I'm going to need them anyways, and CO2 because I'll need it. And I need to get this system running, because even though I won't be able to do anything with it for the time being, because I gotta excuse me, because I gotta do a lot of mining, a lot more mining. I still don't have anywhere near enough. If I don't do this now, I will be spending multiple days waiting for my CO2 tanks to fill and all of that stuff. So that was the overarching goal for this. Trying to get this done so that I can collect more resources and let that just fill up in the background. I think I was looking for plastic sheets and I was just blind as a bat and missed them. And also needed some IC chips and pumps. Goes without mention that every time I go inside, I always check the trader to see if it's somebody that I would want to call down. Because I really, really needed some seeds. I think those ferns and potatoes have me at about net neutral as far as oxygen production. As you can tell, I very commonly...
Hunger caution.
I didn't have this very well organized. So I was always missing materials. I always had to go inside to do something. And then, of course, Suit Lady warns me about stuff. Suit Lady is nice. I will say that putting those tanks down like that have been a perfect excuse to jump up to the landing pad. Now, every now and then I've been checking my ores, make sure I had enough. I smelt some stuff when I ran out of materials. I think I had built a lot of heavy cables on my electronic printer and just burned through all my gold, like always. And jump skip. So I had decided to, again, instead of using APCs to split it up, I was going to use transformers. Because I figured that station battery will be like a last line of defense. Like, if that station battery goes, then my whole atmospheric system will collapse, essentially. Actually, making solder is a pain in the butt. Like, if I get the alloy trader, I am going to buy some solder. Just start dumping it in there. And so here's where some wiring happens. Now, the reason I'm choosing to go with heavy cables after this, whatchamacallit, transformer, is because I intend to build a whole lot of cooling towers further down the line, pretty much adjacent to the greenhouse. And typically I use large powered vents because I want to grab as much as I can at night, just to keep condensing pollutants. That's 500 watts worth of power that I'm using up every single time I do that. And so even though the load is low now because I only have one, it's going to jump up the more I need the cooling. Because, you know, one of the big things with, with the phase change is I have to keep the temperatures below a point where I can have condensation. And right now water is necessary. It's not a luxury. I can't just fill a phase change device or phase change devices with water and call it good. Like I'm still at the point now where I want to be working with either pollutants or nitrous, and both of them have a 150 Celsius limit. Oh, okay. Yeah. You remember how I was frustrated that Build Inc. never showed up? Well, they finally showed up. And so here's what I do. The way I have my satellite set up, my medium dish is going to find roughly the angle I need. And so I move the power up or down until Build Inc. appears and disappears. So now that I've found that, I start moving the horizontal. If Build Inc. disappears on a certain motion, I'm going the wrong way. So now I'm doing the other direction. And as you saw, they disappeared again. Which meant that my horizontal was actually practically on point right there. And so now I start moving the vertical. And again, disappeared very quickly, so started tilting up. And so now I'm just watching Build Inc. lowering the power on my medium dish until I hit 500 watts on the medium dish. And now I'm just basically moving the dish vertically up, down, or, vertical angles going up, whatever that is called. I guess down in this case. and I'm watching to see if they go away. Because if the medium dish still sees a large trader at the minimal power setting, you're really close. And on that wall there is the horizontal and vertical of the large dish. If I remember right, it was 70 vertical for build ink. I believe I got curious at what interstellar ingredients were because I was, again, hoping for seeds. Spoilers, it wasn't seeds. And voila, look at that. 1 degree difference on build ink. So yeah, using the medium dish to find the approximate angle for the large trader really absolutely helps pinpoint where exactly the large dish needs to be at. See? Sold food ingredients, which I didn't need anymore. And once again, because the large dish takes so much power, started burning coal to help replenish it. And to my surprise, I forgot that I didn't need to lower the power for the large dish that much, so I cranked my medium dish up to max so that the large dish cranked up. Meanwhile, took a water and food break. Now, the way that the data is connected with them, the data port on the medium and the large dish need to match up. So the way I built both dishes, the data port is always facing, I guess, me from the computer. If I look straight ahead, it's facing me. That way my logic, the mirror logic I built for the satellites could work. I was debating on building a, whatchamacallit, refrigerated vending machine so that I could put food stuff inside my base and have a vending machine outside for when I'm selling stuff. But it was too expensive. I'll do that. I'll probably do that out off screen. And now I'm debating, what should I sell? What alloy should I sell to this guy? What do I even have? I briefly thought wasp alloy, but I believe I was missing lead, and I really did not want to go mining. I really need to get the atmospheric stuff, so I really wanted to not mine at all. And as you can tell, heavy cables, bought them all. Cables, bought them all. Building supplies. Yeah, I bought them all. All the plastic sheets, all the glass, steel sheets, walls. Just, I didn't care. I spent money. I'll get them. Then I noticed haste alloy. 15 space bucks per. I think I actually lost on that deal doing that. By the sheer nature that super alloys, I would only have gotten 50. Because I spent 200 ores to sell 50 of a super alloy for 15 space bucks. And if I spent 200 ores to sell something like Electrum or Invar, yeah, they sell for like, I think $3 each, but, you know, 3 times 200 was 600. 50 times 15... Now I gotta do the math. 50 times 15 was 750. Okay, so maybe I didn't. Maybe it wasn't a bad choice. I was wondering if this was a regrettable choice for me to just make haste alloy. When have you ever seen anyone make haste alloy in this game? So I made haste alloy to sell. And this got me thinking that I basically let myself get caught with my pants down with building. And part of the issue is that I still haven't set up a deep miner and centrifuge setup. Like that's on the plan to help with the resource cost side of things and less mining. But I really should have had a bunch of expendable ores and ingots that I could have just sold to these traders at any point in time. Because yeah, I got $750 out of that. It made up for just about every single purchase that I'd done. And I was debating on buying stuff and selling or sending him away, but then ultimately I thought, yeah, I could probably finish this in the next 20 minutes. How wrong I was. So I decided to hold him for ransom, not let him out. Check to see the traders. And because I knew I was going to need heavy cables and cables, I went ahead and just grabbed some. So my vending machine is well stocked up with building supplies. Just perfect.
Oxygen low.
Just spend a little bit of money for building supplies. I'm okay with that. Then it finally occurred to me that I could just put a transformer here for my CO2 and volatile filtration network, and just change it all to just small cables. Because I don't really need to automate it. I have a chip that for the filters. It's not 100% perfect, but I had a chip that realistically can control the filter and its pumps. And so I wouldn't need to have heavy cables, because it won't be part of a power-heavy network. Looking back and seeing how long this takes is kind of why I wondered. Part of the reason why I was interested with the early phase change device setup in Vulcan. Because my Vulcan phase change setup has always been time consuming. Like, absolutely time consuming. Because I had to get filters, had to get tanks set up, have to get everything, start purchasing NOS, all sorts of things. And then every time I forget to build something, go back in the base, build whatever I'm missing, and come right back out. And so much piping to do. Also, that 6x6 trader is really huge. If you're planning to build a hangar for that guy, it needs to be at least 5 high. At least 5 high. 6 is overkill, but 4 is too little. I've done the tests. I had broken roofs thanks to those guys. Where was I? Oh, yeah. Phase change. So that's really why I found the whole phase change thing interesting, to try to get it done within 7 days in Vulcan. And I mean, as you saw from the first 3 parts, I got it done. And it works. And it has honestly made living in Vulcan very comfortable. Like, to have one major issue solved that quickly. But maybe it's also the scale of things. Like, could I probably get by with smaller insulated tanks? Yeah, probably. Maybe I'm just too stubborn about it. Okay, so with that, the output on my filters will work. All that's left is to finish wiring up this pump and figure out basically the input side of things with the powered vent. One of the main reasons for I already mentioned that. I plan on using a lot of power vents for cooling. And it is going to follow pretty much the same structure for what I did with the compressor behind the base. I'm just going to suck in a bunch of nighttime Vulcan air, let volatiles condense, move it to a liquid pipe system, let them evaporate, and then run them through a counterflow heat exchanger to cool my thermal tanks. Still hearing that click. Right, what did I forget this time? Valves, I guess. Probably didn't get a good trader. Oh. So for the time being, I figured I need to store some pollutants. Because, if the plan is also to eventually maybe get a very cold tank of nitrogen down to like negative 100 Celsius, and I'd have to use pollutants to get down that low. So I figured I might as well collect some pollutants. Plus, since I need to be collecting carbon dioxide and volatiles, I might as well. I might as well collect my pollutants. I can use it for cooling the system once I get that squared away. And I go off and dump my waste tank. Obviously, if we're seeing something in here, I'm building something. Probably run into a trader that I want to get into. Something tells me I think I'm preparing for, that's right. I wanted to prepare for a nitrous oxide gas trader. I think with the recent change they did, you can buy nitrous oxide from any of the gas traders. When I first started, it was medium and higher, if I remember right. If not, it was a far trader only type thing. And so as I was looking at my tool maker, I realized that nitrous oxide is very expensive. I still had build ink there, hostage. And I ultimately made the decision to sell all my alloys in the tool printer. I think it was a wise decision. Because I figured I could always just make more of them from my mining trip. And plus, how often am I going to make stuff from my tool printer? That was my thought process. Oh yeah, and I had already contacted them. That's what it was. I saw the gas trader. I needed to bring them down, but I needed money first. And again, I didn't want to go out and mine
Oxygen low.
and smelt for it. So 1574's space bucks. I had a little bit more than doubled my money. That was me freaking out thinking, oh no, I'm about to die. Man, those guys are loud, but that was cool. So with that made, I had to take a detour. And bring down the gas trader. But I had to solve an interesting problem in that I didn't want to run cable that far out to get a pressure regulator for a pressure valve. So I figure, well, I could always just build an APC and just manually load a battery. I mean, I got small batteries I still don't care for. Might as well.
Oxygen low.
I can't believe I burned through all of those gas pipes. And I still... You go through so many materials. I guess if I had to say something, it's that, you know, don't neglect some of the stuff that takes a while. Because putting off building a proper atmospheric system, proper cooling system, it'll all have ramifications further down the line. Like the fact that it is taking me till just now to, you know, build the atmospheric system. Now that's kind of not a problem. But for the resource collection side of things, I mean, I still have to go out mining. I still have to do all of that on my own so that I can build stuff, sell stuff, upgrade. Forgot my liquid pipes. But if I had taken the time to probably get my greenhouse more well built up, you know, not been so floozy with my ferns, like actually, you know, for like the 8 game days I spent mining, or actually let my ferns grow a lot, turn a lot of CO2 into oxygen, and then just made fuel mix and got water out of it, I probably could have had a deep miner set up going that could have helped with some of the resource collection side of things. You know, like looking back, I want to do it with NOS fuel. And yeah, that's all well and good, but I'm delaying something for such a long time that it slows me down getting there. I was like, you want to buy an heavy filter for $30? Yeah, no. So I bought some NOS. Guess what I forgot to do? I'll catch it eventually. But now, I wasn't concerned about NOS condensing and evaporating. The reason why is because, recall, I mentioned this on phase change mechanics. When a gas condenses and becomes hot, yes, its temperature will increase. But if you get all of that condensation, all of that gas, whatever condensed, and then let the liquid evaporate and get all that gas back together again, it'll go back to being the same temp. So even though I'm seeing 127 Celsius in that pipe and get really scared about it, I'm not concerned because in the end, once I push all that gas into the liquid tank like I was supposed to, it should settle back down at 20. And I am watching it like a hawk because I don't want to accidentally overpressurize it. Get too many liquids, pressurize, all that sort of thing. Sold out. Right, landing pad emptied. But now with water. I thought about doing the same thing. But water was going to be a slightly different case. Like, I wasn't worried about the NOS potentially freezing because its freezing point is negative 20. Water's, however, is 0. Like, yeah, all of that NOS got really hot and probably got really cold down there, but I was not concerned about it freezing and exploding the liquid tank. Water has such a high such a high specific heat and latent heat that it could very easily have frozen from the evaporation. But also, there's another important thing. I'm pumping out liquid water. I wasn't pumping out gaseous water or steam, forcing it to condense and come back here. Like, if that happened, then yeah, I would have had 0 temperature change, and I wouldn't have worried. And so right when I connected that pipe, I realized, oh crap, my water's gonna freeze. And the only way for me to have fixed it in that emergency situation is to spend more money. As you see, it still got really cold. And so I had to spend money to buy liquid water, to put 20 Celsius water in there, to warm it up so that it can evaporate until it finally stops evaporating when it's pressurized. Let this be a good example for why you should always have liquid pipe networks pressurized. Again, I didn't have to worry about the NOS doing that because it condensed. So it generated heat, got hot, evaporated in the liquid tank, and basically went right back to the same temperature I started. But this water was not doing that because I already bought it as a liquid. There was no condensation to happen. It couldn't warm up. Let me fall through that hole again. But I wanted to do that to pre-pressurize my water tanks so I wouldn't have to worry about it. And then, like I tell all my traders, go away. Okay, so now that I spent 10 minutes fixing that and getting some NOS, let's go back to what I was supposed to be doing, and that was, capturing CO2 and volatiles. So, right back at it. gonna actually finish these connections and program my IC10s. I mean, literally, this is all I had to do. I could have had this done and working that night, but instead I got so distracted and basically wasted an entire evening. And I think this is one of the few times I actually show how my programming, how I program stuff. So all I really need is the gas sensor. I don't have a script for this. For some things like this, I just write them by hand. And I do label them so I kind of understand what the heck this chip was for in the first place if I ever need to fix it. But yeah, this is just my power vent cooling stuff. Crash course on coding. You always want to alias your stuff so that you know what it is. You want to define hard numbers that you intend to use. In this case, I for some reason I was thinking of I needed a minimum temperature, but actually I need a maximum temperature. I want these things to turn on below this maximum temperature. And pretty much the maximum temperature I needed, as I have shown, completely depends on my pollutants. Because the max condensation temp is 425. And that's what I need, 425. Now, I always make a main loop and an end loop. And the end loop will always have a yield and a J main. I always do that. Probably doesn't need it, but I always do that. And then I'm defining my large power vents because I need that. And then easy way to get their hash ID for set batch instructions, just look them up in Stationpedia. So these are power vent large, and you can click on that number and copy it and paste it. Done. Easy. And so with the code, you best way for writing something is you got to approach it with how you expect it to work, how you would logically think it through. So like I need my temperature, so I load my temperature from my sensor. Uh, at this point, I realized that I need to have initialization steps. You put initialization steps above your main loop so that these things run one time and then you just don't have to worry about them. And just for the sake of testing it, I just added that to the chip, made sure this was set correctly, put it on mode 0, which is pushing air out from the pipes inside, and when I turned it on, power vent locked, and it was set in the correct mode. If that was not right, then I would go right back and change those values. So now I basically need a logic for when to turn on these vents. And so I use a select less than. R1 is going to be my on off. And the select less than is condition A less than condition B, turn R1 on. I want my temperature lower than my maximum temperature. That will turn on R1. And then just set batch all my vents on 1. R1. And that's it. For really simple, quick and dirty codes, that's, I type in by hand. If I needed any other safeties or anything to consider, I'll add them up here. But yeah, that covers the active vents. Now at nighttime, I'm collecting it. I'm going to be collecting CO2 and volatiles. And it is at this point that I realized that the code I have for my my AC filtrations, requires a pipe analyzer. Because I forgot about that. I I haven't taken the time to actually improve that logic. And I also realized that I'm not going to program any safeties for stopping the fill. Because my cooling towers are going to, they're going to always be sucking in air, condensing pollutants, and I don't want to have a stop state based on anything else. Because if I tell the tank to stop, then that stops all my cooling towers, and it just becomes a headache. So I just put this back pressure regulator for safety. I don't know how well it's going to work, but it should work. But I'm also, for the first couple of nights, going to be, you know, filtering out volatiles and CO2. Later, once the whole system is very well done up and finished, I might just actually replace it with the one-way valve pipe cowl setup that I typically use. So I got my my pipe analyzer for my filters because I'm gonna need that next. Why I made the code need these, I don't know. I think it was around the time where I had not truly taken the time to see how to properly write based on what a device is seeing. So, I'm gonna scroll down to my filter V2. And as you can see, I need a filter, D0. But it's a quick and dirty code. I realized that I didn't remember that right. I labeled a pump back. So I call those CO2 pumps. And right as soon as I finished that, I realized, wait, my logic affects them differently. I really do need to have them named differently. So I added back, and I went ahead and renamed them. And then the next thing, really all I need to do is just change that value to the gas I actually want. But then I realized something. I don't have carbon dioxide in here. I never literally put that in there. And here I was going to do the right thing and load a gas for carbon dioxide. But then I realized I needed a storage register, and I didn't really want to dig into my code too much. So then I did probably the lazy coder problem, which would cause issues. I went back to nitrogen, and I changed what that actually does. So now I'm reading carbon dioxide ratio in my nitrogen. I'm pretty sure this will bite me in the butt later. But that's lazy programming. It's If this was a multiplayer server and somebody had to troubleshoot that, I'd probably have gotten fired. I probably gotten strapped to the back of a Stirling engine and somebody turned that thing on with like 200 moles of volatiles in the canister and exploded me. And that just goes to show you that that chip does what it's supposed to do. It idles the filtration so that they don't keep consuming power, and it turns on and off the pumps when it is filtering. And so this goes back to highlight that, I try to make my codes in such a way that for something that is going to be used everywhere, I try to make it in such a way that I can just change a few names or a few terms and it'll still work. I just feel like that's probably a good idea. I mean, if you made the code yourself, you should know, what, 90% how it should work? You should be able to fix it, adjust it on the fly. And that's kind of what I try to do. I try to make my coats like that. They're still rough, but they can kind of work. It was at this point that I realized I kind of really wanted to test to make sure that they both turn on and they filter correctly and they do stuff correctly, but I locked this power vent, so there we go. So as a quick test, it definitely turned on my filters. It did what it was supposed to do. And I'm getting CO2 and volatiles out, just like I expected. There's one thing I always recommend is always test your codes. Make sure it does exactly what you expect it to do before you leave it alone. I went back to check the volume pipe settings to see if anything was amiss and bumped up the transformer a bit. Because I couldn't quite remember exactly how much power was being used. And I didn't want to have weird issues where a pump was turning on or off because it didn't have enough power. Something crazy like that. But yeah, this was exactly what I wanted to accomplish. And it took almost 2 hours to do this because I kept getting distracted by traders. Because I really still need seeds. I had to keep an eye on them for that. But this is the beginning, you know. As I get more volatiles, I can make fuel mix. As I make fuel mix, I can make myself water or use it for something. And honestly, if I have a fuel mix, I probably should have went ahead and made a deep miner setup. But you know, I'm a stubborn person. Wanted to use nitrous fuel. I think I called these guys down to see if I could sell anything or anything. I debated on the ship repair package, but I completely sold most of my alloys on my tool printer, and I did not want to move them, so it was a bust. And it just goes to show that at night this worked exactly like I expected. It's drawing in nighttime air, my filters are working. Now I'm having pollutants condense, and I noticed my pipe network is getting a little bit stressed. And I was filling my CO2 tanks. Now, CO2 is going to take a while to fill because I'm trying to fill 2 of them. And I want to get them at least to 20 or 20 to 40 megapascals. Because I want a huge thermal buffer. That's about the time that I noticed that my stress was increasing. That my one condensation valve was not enough, and I needed to add more. And I think when I did the distillation video, I kind of noticed that how much is available in the liquid pipe network kind of affects how much condensation comes out and fills it. Like almost like these valves kind of work on some kind of like almost kind of like a pressure regulator type thing, except with volume. Like if there's more space, it'll definitely go in there. So I just opted to add a little bit more volume. And it seems to have stabilized and actually started dropping, so that was good. But I definitely need to collect a lot of it, and the fact that I'm trying to fill up 2 CO2 tanks is gonna very heavily slow things down. Like, I do want to fill the volatiles up pretty high and cool it all down, But it is going to be very expensive in terms of moving heat around. And that's one of the things. This takes time. Just like the distillation video. All of that took a lot of time. Like, if I had set this up earlier, or at least set some of these things up as I was mining, I probably wouldn't have to wait as long. And so I wanted to set this up now. But I also didn't want to do this work, you know, off screen, because I kind of really want to get to the point to show, I guess, kind of like a step-by-step process for how to set up a cooling system that's going to be relying predominantly on phase change. And as I'm checking the power usage, those volume pumps are using a lot. I'm using, what, at least 1.5 kilowatts of power just to do this. I only had like 10, maybe, yeah, 10, 12-ish solar panels. I'm starting to realize just how power intensive this is going to be. Like this is why I said that I am now dependent on coal unless I find an alternate source of power. But seeing that pollutant tank is at 65 Celsius is nice. I just need that to start cooling my thermal tank some. Because I don't think it'll ever reach 60 Celsius, but I need to get it as cold as I can because I will have to move a lot of thermal energy from a volatile tank. And a CO2 tank. And I still have some coal. I can use it to offset the system a bit. Because after all, I still need to finagle with traders to make money, to buy some stuff, and waiting for a seed trader. Just like that. A seed trader just shows up at the end. I was about ready to wrap up, and that guy showed up.
Oxygen low.
My luck is weird. I don't seem to have good luck. Unless I am with other people or something. Or trying to show something. I swear that's the only time my luck is ever good. Because I checked over like the 10 or so mining days. I never got a seed trader again. And it baffled me that I was complaining I still haven't gotten a seed trader, and boom, shows up right now. And now I realize that probably should have sold more, but I need my soybeans, want my tomatoes because they're cheap. Figure I'll get the tomatoes and wheat because they're cheap. Low on money. Corn or pumpkins? Well, I know what the community is going to want me to get. Corn. So now I'm realize I'm $50 shy from pumpkins. What can I sell? A plant sampler. So I bemoaned thinking I would need stuff, and then I saw it's just iron and copper. I didn't sell that. Go right in to go get it. But I can't tell you just how ridiculous my luck is. Because when I started in part 1, I got the trader assembly up early because I figured it would take several days before I can get a seed trader to show up. And it baffled me that it wasn't very long after I set it up. Boom, seed trader.
Oxygen low.
And then, what was it? Once I finished the phase change device, that's when I got a gas trader. I mean, yeah, that was a little bit frustrating. Could have used that earlier, but that's kind of what it is like. So, rice and switchgrass, I figure I'll get them later. But this is good enough. I can fill out my greenhouse. I'll have the plants that I can. I can, instead of breaking even between the carbon dioxide to oxygen conversion with when I'm in the base, I'll actually be able to consume CO2 and actually make excess oxygen so that I have reason to pump in CO2. So I went ahead and planted the soybeans because I need to make oil so I can start making soups. I went ahead and grabbed all my seeds. And while I'm crazy, I do have some organization. I decided to plant the corn. I'll have to expand the greenhouse. And I think I can only really fit one more plant. But once those two grow and I can fill out the rest of the row, I should be net positive in oxygen. Yeah, I believe that's what I was mentioning. Net positive in as far as gas. And so this is kind of where I'm going to put it off. I was really glad to get the seed trader right there. I have no money, so I definitely need to do something about money. And so I'm gonna do a lot of mining off screen again, see what if I can get money. But next time, I think I'm gonna give Stirling engines a try. I think that will be my power solution for the nighttime. So see you next time. Thank you, and have a good rest of the day.